Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast, brought to you by DirecTV, 1-800-259-7646. Also brought to you by RVWheelator.com. If you're buying an RV or selling an RV, check out RVWheelator.com and the Dollar Shave Club. Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for joining us on a Monday. A court in Palo Alto, California. That's just a fun name to say, isn't it?
It is.
Where do you live? Palo Alto. It sounds like a friendly town.
Yeah.
Because the word pal is
Actually, it sounds like the Old West to me.
Palo Alto.
Yeah.
Hey, pal. California, that's where it is. They're currently hearing a case of two homeless men. We just got done saying how friendly this town sounds. And you said it reminds you of the Old West.
Yeah.
Kind of a combination of both of those being the opposite, maybe. They're hearing a case right now of two homeless men who fought to the death over a stick of deodorant.
Old West, baby.
There you go. Ron McKeon was charged in the fatal shooting. Wait a minute, they're homeless, fighting over deodorant, but he had a gun? What the?
Yeah.
Fatal shooting of Joe Carney. That's really sad, so I'm not laughing about that. This happened on January 11th in Palo Alto at a homeless shelter. So they were fighting to the death over a stick of deodorant.
Well, I mean, we have nothing. Everything is important.
But I'm saying...
And if you... You know,
apparently
you
didn't have
need
nothing.
That to go to job interviews. And
but he
get
apparently
off
didn't have
the
nothing
streets.
if he had a gun. How do you shoot somebody if you have nothing?
A gun is a necessity, especially if you're living in a homeless shelter, apparently, because it sounds like it's a rough neighborhood.
Well, there you go. What a way to start off the week. That is the first story of the week right there. I kind of want a do-over. Should I find something else? See if we can... this one here. This will actually help change the trajectory of our whole show.
If anything positive came out of that first story, he's not going to be homeless anymore.
Oh, yeah, he's got a place to stay for the next 25 years. It's a life. All right, headline. A woman has destroyed 6 cars while trying to park her own car.
Was it parallel parking? I can totally see how that could happen.
We'll chat about that in a bit. We've got that story and so much more coming up on the John and Heidi Show for a Monday.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RVWheelator.com. If you're selling an RV, check out RVWheelator.com. They only get paid if they help you sell your RV. If you're buying an RV, you can find great deals at RVWheelator.com. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
A new study found that the fear of looking stupid stops people from using self-service checkout machines. That's not what stops me.
That's not what stops me. I don't use them.
Yeah, what stops me is the fact that I want to continue to give Americans jobs.
Right.
And I don't want a computer to take over and do all the work that Americans do. So that's why. But it's if you hide in a crowd, that's supposed to help. And it could give some stores tips on how to handle self-checkouts, which is becoming popular as a cost-cutting tool among retailers.
Now, I will say, with states across the country raising their minimum wage,
we're going to have more of
employers
this.
Don't have much of a choice.
I know.
I mean, they just don't.
Well, and I remember back
in the states where things are not, where minimum wage is still the minimum wage it's always been, there's absolutely no reason to have those machines in there instead of people.
Well, it says here, the study found shoppers felt more comfortable ringing up their own purchases if they were alone or in a crowd. But if there was just one other person waiting behind them, so if there's one person that they didn't like it, they felt more pressured and less confident, and they were less likely to use the machine again or recommend it to others. So they just don't want to look stupid, which brings me to my next story.
Although I have had to use it before, and the stupid machine, put your items in the bag. I did. And then the machine says, put your item in the bag, put your item in the bag. Well, it's already in the bag. I don't know what you're telling me to do. I scanned it and I put it in the bag, and it won't let me scan the next thing because they think I haven't put my thing in the bag because the little scale didn't read it or whatever. I don't know.
I wish I could relate, but I've never used one.
Yeah, I used it. I've used it a couple of times, only when I had no other choice.
This is who I am. When not self-service, but pay at the pump, when those things first came out, I did not use them. I didn't use them. I would go in and pay the guy inside the store. And now, so many places, they won't let you do that. You have to pay at the pump.
You have to pay ahead of time. I don't even go to those gas stations, though.
It got to a point where I'm like, yes, okay, I'll pay at the pump if that's what you want. But what I used to do, I used to go inside and I would buy other things. Well, now I'm paying at the pump and I got to stand there the whole time waiting. So I'm like,
And
I'm
I
not going
will
to go
not
inside.
go to gas stations that make you prepay.
Yeah.
If there's a sign like that, I just say never mind, and I go to the next gas station.
Well, very
because
good.
I don't know how much gas I need, and I don't want to
Exactly.
prepay and then find out I overpaid or didn't give them enough to even get a full tank. So I don't do that.
So I'm not a fan of that either. And speaking of moving on, I have a story here that I was going to share, but we talked way too much, so I'm going to share it in a bit. I'm going to give you the headline. A woman destroys 6 cars while trying to park her own car.
I can see how that could happen if it's parallel parking.
We're going to chat about that. That is on the way on a Monday edition of the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. You can get razors sent to your door each month for just $1, plus a couple of bucks shipping. It's an amazing deal. Log on to dollarshaveclub.com/radio to learn more. That's dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
A teenager in Bay County has been handing out manna bags for the past 3 years. You know what a manna bag is?
First of all, you said we were going to talk about some lady destroying 6 cars.
I'm going to. It's on the way.
Why are you dragging it out? 3 breaks now.
Should I get to this manna bag story first,
Sure.
or should I get to the other one first? All right. Katie Bird has said she started giving bags to people that she would meet as a way to spread her beliefs. The bags include fun, a useful beach item like a water bottle, a Frisbee, and some lip balm. She says that each item has a Bible verse on it as well. She said, this is a way that I like to show people that you're worthy of God's love. The original project started as a personal growth project, and it's growing and growing. Now, 12 organizations from around the community donate to her cause. This year, she's going to be giving out 500 of these bags.
Yeah.
So she's like passing on the love. That's kind of cool.
Just to random people?
Yeah. It's like, hey, you, come here. I'm going to give you this.
That's
All right.
nice.
So now you want the story about the car, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. I would not have wanted to be the one to have to call the insurance company and explain this. A woman on a shopping trip in Hamburg wrecked 6 cars while trying to park. The woman's foot slipped as she tried to reverse into a space. That had sent her speeding back into 2 other cars. She hit those cars so hard they knocked him into 2 other cars behind them, and one rolled into the main road and collided with yet 2 more cars headed down the street. The woman has to pay the damages of the accident herself because her insurance company is refusing the claim. How can they do that?
Yeah, I don't know how they can
Can
do
they just
that.
say, yeah, we're not going to
But
cover
Hamburg,
that.
that's another country,
It's
right?
in Germany.
So maybe they have different
Why would you have insurance if they could just
rules.
pick and choose?
Yeah, if they can just say, yeah, we don't feel like paying that one.
Can you do that on a monthly basis? I just don't feel like paying May. So, that's you're going to have to keep insuring me. I just don't really feel like paying you this month.
That's not right.
No.
I would probably sue over that one because
Well,
you got
that's just-
insurance for a reason.
Doesn't quite seem right to me.
No.
All right. Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. Was that story worth the wait, by the way? Or did
No,
I build it
not
up a little
really.
too
You
much?
built it up a little too much. But that's okay.
So you're saying the headline was better than the story? A woman destroys 6 cars while trying to park her own. I was thinking there was going to be a little more hijinks in there too. But no, her foot slipped off the brake, that's all. Well, that wasn't so awesome, was it? Coming up here later, we've got an author we're going to be chatting with. The Year My Mother Came Back is the name of the book. We're going to be chatting with Alice Eve Cohen on the program today. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This is John Stossel. Anything that makes it harder for you to speak limits your life. So if you or someone you know stutters, you can call the Stuttering Foundation for help. 800-992-9392.
You're listening to the John and Heidi Show
To
podcast.
celebrate the anniversary of the footwear company Tom's, have you ever heard of Tom's?
Yes, I have.
The company is encouraging people on Instagram to post photos of their bare feet in exchange for shoe donations to children in need. The company's One Day Without Shoes campaign runs for 16 days. It's designed to raise awareness of children's health and education. Going to go through May 21st. So what is today? Wow, it's the 11th already, isn't it?
Isn't that crazy?
I know. How did that happen? So 21st is next Thursday. So this goes through next Thursday.
Our son graduates this weekend.
I cannot believe that. I think we need a do-over on that. I'm going to check the math. Instagram users can participate by snapping a photo of their feet with no footwear and tagging it with hashtag without shoes. If you don't know what a hashtag is, it's the pound sign or the number sign. Why does that one thing have 3 names? Is it a generational thing?
I have no
I called it
idea.
the pound sign. I know my mother called it the number sign, and our kids call it a hashtag.
Yeah.
Why does it keep getting renamed? I also have heard it referred to as the tic-tac-toe, which that's just ridiculous. I know that's what a tic-tac-toe sign looks like, but who wants to use tic-tac-toe when you mention that sign? All right. If you want to do it, just hashtag without shoes. For every Instagram photo of bare feet tagged, the company Tom's will give their signature slip-ons to a child who needs them. That's really nice.
It is very nice. That company, I think, is that the company that every time you buy a pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes away? I think
very possible. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm going to have to check it out. I have Vans. They're not Tom's.
No, they
Are
don't
they related?
give those away. But
they don't give those away. I noticed that.
Wasn't there a comedian said that I have anxiety issues about somebody had given me a pair of these shoes where when you buy some, they give some to like Africa, like a kid in Africa that needs a pair of shoes or something. He said that he didn't like the shoes. He got them as a gift and he didn't want to return them because he was having nightmares about a repo guy going to the kid in Africa and taking his shoes back.
I have not heard that. That is funny, though.
They just couldn't return them.
I'm pretty sure they don't do that. I hope they don't do that. Excuse me. Get over here. I'm going to need those back. Mike brought his shoes back. All right. Thanks for listening on a Monday. We've got an author coming up here in a bit. The book, The Year My Mother Came Back. Oh, that reminds me. Did you have a nice Mother's Day yesterday?
I did.
What was your favorite part?
Just spending the day with my family. It was wonderful.
That was nice. You know what my favorite part was?
What's that?
Being a part of your family to spend with you. That was great, too. Do you remember a couple years ago on Mother's Day, I got a new grill? Remember that?
Yes, I do. Happy Mother's Day. Look what we got. A grill.
No, it just worked out. It wasn't. It was the day before Mother's Day. And I decided to, we'll chat about it here in a bit. But I decided to make Heidi something special. Every time it gets close to Mother's Day, I always think of this story. But we're going to chat about it. So hopefully everybody else had a nice Mother's Day yesterday as well. We'll get to some fun, silly stuff. We have your Scoop of the Day on the way.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. You can get razors sent to your door each month for just $1, plus a couple of bucks shipping. It's an amazing deal. Log on to dollarshaveclub.com/radio to learn more. That's dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
Time now for the Scoop of the Day, brought to you by the Dollar Shave Club. Check it out. I did shave.
You did. I see
nice
that.
And smooth. Last time I was talking about this.
You were a little scruffy yesterday.
On Friday. Well, it was Friday. On Friday when I was talking about it, I felt a little guilty because I'm promoting Dollar Shave Club while I look like Don Johnson from the Miami Vice. I had this stubble thing going. I didn't really look like Don Johnson from Miami Vice. I looked more like a fat version of Don Johnson.
You look like Don Johnson with a bunch of bee stings.
What happened to him? He's all swelled up. Anyway, if you'd like to check out Dollar Shave Club, you can get razors for $1 a month, and they'll deliver them right to your door for $2 more. So for $3 a month, you get razors every single month. It's a cool thing. Check it out at dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Now, the scoop of the day. For more than 3 decades, you couldn't find Pac-Man or Space Invaders in Marshallfield, Massachusetts. You know why?
Why?
Because a local 1982 bylaw banning coin-operated video games and arcade games was in place.
What?
But just recently, it was struck from the books. So the kids in Marshallfield, Massachusetts are finally going to find out what the joys of Pac-Man are. And
those poor kids.
Hubert and Donkey Kong. Yeah. What was your favorite video game? Do you have a favorite?
I loved, on my Atari when I was a kid, Pitfall.
I
loved
That's
Pitfall.
the one where the guy swings on the thing?
Yeah.
I remember that.
You have to get him on the rope, and he swings across and jumps off, and you have to jump on the alligator heads. And
I was a Frogger kid. I loved Frogger. I don't know why. It was just such a cool game. So, moving on with our scoop of the day. Police in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. I would not mind living there just because I'd like to say I'm from Sheboygan.
Sheboygan.
It's a fun name. I love it when we read names of towns, and I'm like, oh, I'd love to live in
You're going
Sheboygan.
to have 2 homes now, apparently.
Yeah,
one in Sheboygan, one in Palo Alto.
Exactly. In Sheboygan, police recently stopped a vehicle for improper registration. Turned out to be worse news for one of the passengers in the car, not the driver, knowing that he had several unpaid traffic tickets in another state, but not knowing that there was also a warrant for his arrest. The quick-thinking passenger gave the officer a false name when he asked to identify himself, but then the false name that he gave turned out to be somebody who had a felony warrant. So it's like, yeah, my name is Michael Jones. Yeah, you're wanted for a felony. Oh, no, my real name is this. It was about the time he gave the police his real name. Came in pretty handy when he was being arrested for something other than the felony warrant for vehicular homicide. That's what the fake name was wanted for, killing somebody. So just give your own name. Fess up to your own crimes. Danny Moritz pleaded innocent to loitering charges. That is the funniest thing to get arrested for, loitering. Brian Regan, isn't he the one that talks about just hanging around?
Yeah.
Anyway, this was in Van Buren, Arkansas. He saw an opportunity to escape. Then he did, but his distinctive black and white striped jail uniform was attracting a little too much attention, so he ditched it. That didn't fool officers in pursuit. He kind of stuck out, the police spokesman said, since he was running down the street with nothing on.
Oh.
Yeah. He was quickly caught, charged with escape and disorderly conduct. So he thought, you know what? I'm going to try to blend in. I'm taking off the clothes, and I'm going to just run
nobody will notice
buck naked down the street. Yeah. Next, pregnant. Better save up for a new pair of shoes. A study found pregnancy preeminently? Is that the word? Preeminently?
I don't know.
That's like a $5
sentence. I have no idea where you're going.
A study found pregnancy preeminently changes the shape and size of women's feet.
It does. It absolutely does.
It preeminently does?
It changes your feet. My feet got bigger when I was pregnant, and then after I had the kids and lost some of the weight, my feet went back to the regular size.
I just read that again. Permanently.
Well, it doesn't permanently change them.
This is it permanently, not preeminently.
My God, should you be reading the
No.
stories?
Maybe
that should be over here.
Imagine if I was doing the news at night.
But it doesn't. For me, it didn't permanently change anything. It did temporarily. The extra weight, I think, was pushing on my arches, and
Okay. 70% of the soon-to-be mommies end up with longer feet, close to a half inch.
yeah, it's because of your arches get weighed
Their
down.
feet also become wider and flatter. And that's just with the first pregnancy. What happened with second and third? Not much. The worst happens during the first. So once the first one's done, you get the new shoe size. Wow. This is the story of a security guard who was supposed to be guarding his cash-filled warehouse in Fort Myers, Florida. No word on where he was at the time, but he allowed burglars to break in and make off with $3.3 million. It was supposed to be stored in bank vaults. Brink's Armory Delivery Service discovered the theft apparently took place over the weekend, and it's reminiscent of a 1997 theft where the thieves stole a cool $18.8 million. So apparently you don't need to rob the bank. There's a warehouse with just one dude sitting at it, watching the money. And like this guy here, he was just wandered off and doing something else. I have no idea what. All right, let's wrap up this scoop of the day. I'm going to go and do some reading lessons. Strange law of the day. In the state of California, it is illegal for a woman to drive while wearing a housecoat. You heard it here first.
Wow.
So if you head to California anytime, do not bring your housecoat. I have a question. What is a housecoat?
A robe.
Oh, why don't they call it a robe?
So what, is it also illegal for a man to drive
Probably
while wearing
not.
a robe? Because it just says woman. That
Says
seems
woman.
unfair.
I know. Apparently men can drive with their housecoat, but women can't. I've no clue. This is in the state of California, and it is our bizarre law. It's all part of our scoop of the day, brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. Check them out, dollarshaveclub.com/radio.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. You can get razors sent to your door each month for just $1, plus a couple of bucks shipping. It's an amazing deal. Log on to dollarshaveclub.com/radio to learn more. That's dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
Thank you so much for listening on a Monday. I have a special guest on the telephone line. Alice Eve Cohen is a theater artist and a playwright. Her first memoir, What I Thought I Knew, received the Elle magazine's Literary Grand Prix for nonfiction, was one of Oprah's 25 best books of summer, and one of the Salon's best books of the year. She's written for Nickelodeon, CTW, CBS. She's toured with her plays nationally and internationally. She holds a Bachelor of Arts from Princeton University and an MFA from the New School where she currently teaches, and she has a book out that's called The Year My Mother Came Back. And I've got Alice Eve Cohen on the line right now. Good morning, Alice. How are you doing?
I'm great. So glad to be talking to you.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know yesterday was Mother's Day, and there's a lot of folks out there that probably already got something nice for Mom. But for those of you who maybe just heard on the radio for the first time that, oh, wow, yesterday was Mother's Day, you definitely need to buy something. And this would be a great book to purchase. Tell me about The Year My Mother Came Back. Now, what was the inspiration for this book, Alice?
Well, the year in question is summer 2008 to summer 2009. It was a wild and crazy year for me and for my daughters. That summer, my younger daughter was scheduled to have a very complicated leg lengthening surgery for her shorter leg at the age of 8. My older daughter was about to go to college at 18, and a week before she left, she decided that she wanted to find her birth mother. That same summer, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, so it was kind of a triple whammy. And in that moment of crisis, my late mother, who had died 30 years before, came back to me in a flood of memories, and what ensued was a year of vivid fantasies in which I talked with her, I remembered her in vivid flashbacks, and finally was able to come to terms with and reconcile what had been a very stormy relationship.
And the book, The Year My Mother Came Back, this is a book that's just been out for a short while, but you have a lot of women around the country that can really relate to this story. What kind of things are you hearing from people that are reading it?
People tend to project their own, this is both men and women, they read the book and they project their own mothers onto it, their own mother and child relationship. If they're parents, they project their own experience as parents onto it. I have certainly tried to write with as much honesty and openness as I can, and I've recreated on the page my mother, who was quite an astounding person. She was a feminist ahead of her time, so she was kind of a maverick and really trying to fight the system. She was always committed to causes of social justice. She was a civil rights advocate and activist. She was fighting for causes that weren't always popular, but she would take me and my two sisters in hand, literally hold our hands, take us around the neighborhood canvassing for civil rights, and she was quite heroic. She got sick when I was 12 years old, and that was a very difficult turning point for her and for me as a kid. She became weak and sad and remote and angry, and so I felt that I had lost my mother. And it wasn't until the last year of her life that she finally became happy again. She found her dream job. Things seemed like she was going to have a wonderful life, and I was looking forward to an adult relationship with her when she died. Cut to 30 years ahead, I have this year of crisis, and she comes back to me, and I have this opportunity to revisit what was a very complex relationship with my remarkable mother.
And again, on the telephone line right now with the author of The Year My Mother Came Back, Alice Eve Cohen. Alice, what do you think your mom would think of this book? I
think she would be thrilled to be remembered. She was a sociologist. She was a very brilliant intellectual, but she never published, and this was before she died in 1977, so we didn't have the internet, so you can't Google her work. And I feel absolutely thrilled that I've been able to talk about my mother in detail, her strengths and her weaknesses. She may not like that all of her, weaknesses have been revealed, but certainly her intellect and her social justice activism is there for everybody to read about. And I think that she would, if she were here today and looking at it, and I do ask all my everyone in my family reads the book in advance and vets it. So my sisters read it, my daughters read it, my husband read it, and they told me if there was anything they wanted me to take out. I took it out. Of course, my mother didn't have a chance to vet the book, but I do think she would have approved. And the day that I finished the book, I had asked for an extension from my editor. She said, well, as long as you give it to me next week. And this was a couple of years ago in April. And I worked feverishly through the weekend, and I worked really hard on that Monday, and I worked really hard on that Tuesday, and it was almost finished. And then Wednesday I finished it, and I thought, oh, well, just, to be professional, I will put today's date in the header, and I typed in April 11, and in that moment I realized that was my mother's birthday, and I finished on her birthday. And I felt a kind of a whoosh, and I got tears in my eyes, and I looked into the sky and said, happy birthday, Mom. And I did feel that she definitely would have approved, and I feel it to her.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us this morning about the book. Now, let's talk about where people can find the book. Because I guarantee you there are people listening right now that think, that sounds like a fascinating book, because I'm one of them. It does sound like a fascinating book. Where can I find this, and where can I pick up my own copy?
You can go to Amazon.com, look up The Year My Mother Came Back. You can order the hard copy or the digital copy. I also had the pleasure of recording the audiobook version. That was a lot of fun. You can go to your local independent bookstore or to Barnes & Noble. They should have it there. And you can find more information on my website, AliceEveCohen.com.
Very nice. And I have a hard copy that I have right here. We're giving that away today. We had been promoting it over the weekend for Mother's Day, and you can win this on the website, winthisonline.com. See, that's a lot better than caller number one, because then what happens to all the other people who want to win, right?
Exactly. And John, if I could just add, I think this book is not just for Mother's Day.
There you go.
That men and women have been enjoying the book, and I hope that your listeners will as well.
Very good. Alice, thank you so much for spending the morning with us here.
My pleasure.
And again, Alice Eve Cohen, author of The Year My Mother Came Back. It's available right now, and buy it at your local bookstore. If you can't find it there, you can go onto one of the websites that sell books, and I guarantee you'll find it, and it's a really nice one. Thank you so much for listening on a Monday. It's the John and Heidi Show.
Hi, it's Jewel and Kelly Pickler. Lung cancer is the #1 cancer killer of women. So we've joined the American Lung Association's Lung Force because it's going to take a force of women to create new hope. Please join us. Fight lung cancer in women at lungforce.org.
You're listening to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
Today's a very special day, Heidi. You know what today is?
What is today, John?
It's Monday. It's the 11th day of May, and it is Eat What You Want Day, also known around here as Every Day.
Every day.
And we just always kind of eat what we want. I don't ever eat what I don't want. I was like, hey,
No,
would you
I
like some of
never
this?
eat what-
I don't want that.
I don't eat what I don't want either. Sometimes I make things that I don't love, but I know we need them.
Yeah.
So,
Hostess Cupcake Day today.
ooh.
Yeah.
Hey, that coincides with Eat What You Want
We
Day.
should celebrate.
We totally should.
It is also Root Canal Appreciation Day.
Again, all kind of goes together.
Who celebrates that day? Do they have little party hats that you put on, like look like root
It's
canal?
a good thing if you need one that somebody can do it, because
It
I'm
is
sure
good.
it's very painful.
I just didn't know we needed a Root Canal Appreciation Day. It's National Women's Checkup Day, Fibromyalgia and Chronic Fatigue Syndrome Awareness Day as well. So all of those. Get out and celebrate. The one I'm celebrating, Eat What You Want, and I want a Hostess Cupcake. Where can I even find one of those? They have them at stores
Oh,
still?
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
They weren't the ones that went out of business, were they?
Hostess was, yes.
Was it? But they're back?
They
All
are
right.
back with a vengeance.
All right. Well, I have to see if I can go find me a Hostess Cupcake, because it's Hostess Cupcake Day. You're listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RVRealtor.com. If you're selling an RV, check out RVRealtor.com. They only get paid if they help you sell your RV. If you're buying an RV, you can find great deals at RVRealtor.com. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
If this invention catches on, no one will ever have any sort of excuse for waking up late anymore. This is either the most brilliant invention ever, or it's the worst thing ever. One or the other.
Okay.
But there's a new alarm clock, and you can't hit the snooze button. A group of students in California created an intelligent alarm clock called the Chipper. Chipper consists of an electronics box that contains the alarm, and it hangs on the side of your bed. It is attached to fabric sensors under your mattress. The alarm only turns off when it senses the weight of your body is no longer on the mattress.
Whoa.
So you
What
can't-
if you have a king-size bed and you just move to the other side?
It does the whole bed, I'm assuming.
Huh.
But that would really
What if
stink
there's
for
two
us.
of you and
I
only
was saying,
one person needs to get up?
maybe it senses that one person is up. Because then say if it's not, it would really stink for us, because I get up usually an hour before you do.
Yeah.
You know, I get up and kind of dink around and do a little reading and take a shower and shave.
Pre-read
and
the
all
stories so you know how to pronounce
No,
all the words.
I should do that. Every day you tell me to do that. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, pre-reading the stories so I know what I'm talking about. How do I say this word here again? John, that's permanently. I thought it was preeminently. I added an extra R for some reason. Permanently. Now we permanently know that I need to pre-read these stories. So what was I talking about again? Oh, yeah. It's an alarm clock that if it goes off, you can't just hit a snooze button. You have to get out of bed.
I can see how that would be useful.
It's a great idea.
I wouldn't want one.
But I can tell you, here's what I'm afraid is going to happen. Because here's what I would do, honestly. If you can't lay back down because it's going to make noise again, I would just get up and I'd go in and lay on the sofa and I'd fall asleep in a different room and I'd sleep in there. So it's a really good idea in the sense that you have to get up. But it's a really bad idea in the fact that if you really want to go back to sleep, you're just going to go back to sleep somewhere else. And then you don't have a snooze that's going to keep waking you up every 10 minutes.
Right.
So unless they can hook this to you and you have to be vertical, not horizontal, if there's some way to do that, had to figure out the vertical horizontal here. I don't know. I just think it's going to be interesting to see if this catches on. It's called the chipper. Do you think that you would be chipper if you had one of these?
I'm most likely not. No,
I wonder
I'm not
why they
much
call
of a
it
morning
the
person.
Chipper. That's just kind of a weird name. It is a Monday. We appreciate you joining us for the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. You can get razors sent to your door each month for just $1 plus a couple of bucks shipping. It's an amazing deal. Log on to dollarshaveclub.com/radio to learn more. That's dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
State and House committees overwhelmingly approved measures last Tuesday that would designate the Bible as the official book of Tennessee, the state of Tennessee.
That's nice.
Both the Senate and the local government committee and the House State Government Committee approved the bill. So it is the official book of Tennessee.
That's nice.
I didn't know there were official books in different states.
I wonder what ours is.
I think it's green eggs and ham.
That's
kidding.
a good one, too.
No, I have no idea. No clue. It is amazing to me because there's state birds, or state trees, state flowers, state bugs, state flags,
state pizza toppings.
Is there really? I think they kind of have. But now there's.
Why does each state need its own thing anyway of anything?
But maybe it's just because we're trying to say that we're proud of the fact that we have a lot of that here, whatever it is. But again, state and House committees overwhelmingly approved measures last Tuesday that the Bible is the official book of Tennessee. Oh, Las Vegas, the official book of Las Vegas of Nevada. 50 Shades of Grey. Nice. I was saying the state of Las Vegas. That is probably not accurate. Pretty good sign that I was not reading it. And my brain's not working. Hey, it's a Monday. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show.
This is John Stossel. Anything that makes it harder for you to speak limits your life. So if you or someone you know stutters, you can call the Stuttering Foundation for help. 800-992-9392.
You're listening to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
If your tush is a little plush, that could be good for your health. It's interesting. I must be pretty healthy. It's actually possible that that's good for your health. A specific type of fat that accumulates around your hips is called subcutaneous fat. And I'm sure I'm saying that exactly right. It's fat that collects under the skin. It appears to fight type 2 diabetes, according to researchers from the Harvard Medical School in Boston. So there you go. You got that going for me.
I find that very hard to believe.
Well, they did a study, Heidi, so you know it's true.
Uh-huh.
They did the research, and they talked to people about it. You know.
I find that one hard to believe.
Turned in a report.
Because typically if you've got a big bottom, you're big everywhere else too.
Well,
so if you're big and overweight, being overweight causes
type 2 diabetes.
Type 2 diabetes. So
well, they're saying that if it's mainly right down here. Because now what about if it's up here?
If it's everywhere, which is our problem.
So that's not helping me, is what you're saying? Oh, man. I had this, for some reason, this false sense of hope for a moment, Heidi. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you for stealing that away. Coming up in a bit, we're going to talk about this. Drunk driving is down, but can you guess why? We're going to chat about that. It's on the way on the John and Heidi Show.
This portion of the program is brought to you by RVRealtor.com. If you're selling an RV, check out RVRealtor.com. They only get paid if they help you sell your RV. If you're buying an RV, you can find great deals at RVRealtor.com. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
This comes from the category of, I think this is good news. Drunk driving is down. That's good news, isn't it?
That is good news.
But can you guess why? It says here, drunken driving incidents have fallen 30% in the last 5 years. In the last year, they were at their lowest mark in nearly 2 decades. That is really good news. This is all according to a federal report. So this is nationwide, not just here. The decline may be due to a down economy, is what they're saying. Other research suggests people are still drinking just as heavily as they have in the past.
Just at home.
But they're finding cheaper ways of going to bars and clubs and restaurants. One possibility is that people are drinking at home or driving less after drinking. So they would be drinking somewhere, but they'd get a ride, or they would, walk home or thumb a ride.
That's good.
I don't know.
That's good news all the way around.
Dr. Thomas Frieden, director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, is the one that put all this together.
Not the down economy part. Obviously,
No.
that's not good news, but
No, but
hopefully
it's-
that'll be fixed here in a year or so.
Yeah, I'm sure. Boom. Let's be popped
No,
right
it's
back.
going to take some work, but I think we'll be at least on the right path. I'm hoping.
If you are a drinker, make sure you have a designated driver, because we have a very good system here. My wife likes to have a beverage or
I
two
am
or
the
12,
designated drinker.
and I am the designated driver.
It works well.
So when we go out, I just don't drink. And
Right.
it's not that I can't drink, because I've had a drink here and there. I'm not a big fan. So I've never been a fan of waking up with a hangover. I'm like, you know what? I struggle enough through life without putting that on me too. So I have just as much fun as everybody that's drinking. As a matter of fact, I probably have more fun because I'm the one taking the pictures. I'm like, hey, you're never going to believe what you did the other night. But just have a good plan when you go out. And I'm so proud of our country that we are right now, drunk driving incidents are down to the lowest in 20 years.
I think that's wonderful. And
That is
hopefully
amazing.
it continues to decline.
We should celebrate with a drink. And I'd celebrate by being the designated driver. You're listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday.
This portion of the program is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. You can get razors sent to your door each month for just $1, plus a couple of bucks shipping. It's an amazing deal. Log on to dollarshaveclub.com/radio to learn more. That's dollarshaveclub.com/radio. Now, back to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
I believe this is the third fun town of the day. All these different towns we're talking about. Allegheny, New York. Doesn't that just sound like a cool place?
Sure.
Allegheny. Well, Allegheny, New York, a guy by the name of Stanley White was out cruising in his car, and he decided to get something out of his trunk. So he stopped in the middle of an intersection.
Oh.
It's not good. He hopped out and headed for the back of his car. Parking in the middle of an intersection was mistake number one. In the process of retrieving said item from the trunk, he managed to lose track of his keys. Mistake number two.
Oh, no.
Panicked, he flagged down a passing police car to help him look for these keys. Mistake number three. Officer arrested him for DUI. We just got done talking about how drunk driving is down. DUI after finding the keys right where he had left them in the keyhole of the trunk.
Oh, man.
So the guy made a lot of mistakes. Mistake number one really was drinking
man.
and driving. Then stopping in the intersection. Then losing his keys in the trunk keyhole.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So there you go. From Allegheny, New York. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Tomorrow we'll have another edition of Tuesdays with Charlie. We do that every Tuesday, and I know we've got some new folks listening, so every Tuesday we do that. And if you've got a fun question, you have to get that to us. You can send it to us through our Facebook page, facebook.com/John and Heidi Show, and it's got to be John and Heidi Show. There's a poor couple that are John and Heidi. They've been getting a lot of messages for us. I'm sorry. It's facebook.com/John and Heidi Show, and you can go there as well to listen to the podcast. And we have a bonus break. Should I give you a sneak preview of what's in the bonus break?
No, let's leave it a surprise.
All right. Well, that's probably good because I don't really know what's in it anyway. I prepared for this much. I am not prepared to go beyond this. But I'm sure it'll be something interesting. Thank you so much for listening on a Monday. It's the John and Heidi Show.
Time now for the bonus break. Only available here on the John and Heidi Show podcast.
All right. The radio folks are gone. Here we are with our podcast bonus break.
All right, let's do this.
The list of the toughest animals on Earth might surprise you. If you were going to just say toughest animal on Earth, who would you say?
The lion.
You'd be wrong. The list includes the emperor penguin, which breeds in the winter and stands in temperatures way below zero for 65 days. Also making the list, the wood frog, which freezes and thaws as temperatures vary throughout the winter. The winner, though, is the toughest animal to this competition here, is the tardigrade.
I've never heard of a tardigrade.
Tardigrade. It's a little longer than a grain of salt. It can survive boiling water, extreme cold, radiation, and the vacuum of space. pressure 6 times greater than which is found at the deepest spot in the ocean.
And it's an animal?
Yeah, it's an animal. It's a tardigrade. And it's a tough little bugger. So it's a tardigrade.
How can it be an animal? And I mean, I could see it being an insect or something if it's only the size of a grain of salt, but how could it be an animal?
It's a little insects are animals too.
Insects are not animals. Insects are insects. They're two completely different
I'm
categories.
pretty sure insects are animals. We're animals. We're humans, but we're also animals. We're all animals. We're plants and animals are the 2 categories.
I'm thinking mammals.
Yeah. There may not be mammals.
They're not mammals. I thought an insect was different than an animal. I thought it was I
don't know.
Plants, animals, and insects.
We should really stop talking about smart
Right?
people stuff. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? No.
No.
I'm not even smarter than a kindergartner.
Don't even pretend.
All right. Hey, one last thing here. Encryption is a great way to keep your files safe, but what if it's used against you? Listen to this smart little hacker. According to the Huffington Post, randomsware encrypts your data without your approval, which prevents you from accessing it, and the randomsware is a doozy to get rid of, but a new tool released last Monday can help. Casper Lab, they have a security firm headquartered in Russia. They released randomsware decryptor to help people fight back against the so-called coin vault randomsware software. It takes control of data on your computer and demands payment to restore access, and you can read all about it online. I already have a headache even thinking about it, but there's people out there that came up with this idea. I'm not going to steal your information. I'm going to make it so you can't get to it without giving me the password. So they come onto your computer, they lock up all your stuff, and they say, you pay me, and I'll let you have your own stuff back. Yeah. And then this other company said, hey, we're going to come up with software where you don't have to pay them. You pay us, and we'll unhack it for you.
Oh, my gosh.
I kind of wonder if the people that are doing it are the ones selling the software.
I'm sure.
I don't know. And it's from Russia. It's a company called Kaspersky Lab, and they have randomsware decryptor. And I'm sure I pronounced all of that correctly. There you go.
There is nothing in my computer that I want badly enough to pay somebody to get it back. I would just be like, oh, well, I guess I don't need that information.
I'm trying to think of what I even have on my computer. I am a digital hoarder. I didn't know that was a thing, but that's a term. A digital hoarder means you keep everything.
You are a hoarder in every sense of the word.
But
dear.
I'm a digital hoarder, too.
Yeah.
So I have files on my computer for radio ads from 7 years ago for an event that's never going to happen again. Why did I keep those? I was moving them from one computer to another when I was transferring stuff over. I'm like, oh, I got to save all this. I'm like, wait a minute. Why am I saving all of this stuff? So it makes no sense to me whatsoever. But I just thought, hey, maybe someday we'll have a podcast and people will want to hear all of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. A boy can dream, Heidi. A boy can dream.